Today, I have a guy that cut his teeth in fixed operations and is now the commercial executive director for Czinger Vehicles. The last time he was on the show, he was the VP of after sales for McLaren, a true example of upward mobility the automotive industry provides for people. Randy, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Mastermind.
Thanks, Dave. It's always good to be with you, and I appreciate the opportunity to come on again.
It's great to have you here. Take a couple of minutes and just remind everybody of who you are, and then we'll get straight to the wisdom.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. So, Randy Nowell, like you said, I'm with Czinger Vehicles out here in California. We produce the world's fastest street legal hypercar, and we build it right here in Los Angeles. It's an amazing story that not enough people know about yet, but they certainly will. We're breaking records left and right. So happy to be with this organization.
Yes, it is. It is very cool, and certainly starting to build that following. So a lot more people are going to hear about it in the future. That's for sure.
Yep.
So the show is broken up into 3 segments. Segment 1 this week is you can climb as high as you want. Segment 2 is the Hypercar Difference, and segment 3 is the future of automotive. If everybody out there is ready, we'll get into it.
Sounds good.
So segment 1 is you can climb as high as you want. And so, Randy, how did your journey start in automotive?
Yeah, so probably like a lot of your followers and listeners, I started out in the shop working in a dealership. It was a Porsche, Audi, Volkswagen store in Salt Lake City, Utah. My dad was in the business and he hired me for that first opportunity. Actually, going back further, I'm 4th generation car guy. So my great grandpa, my dad, and then myself. And now 2 of my sons are 5th generation in the business. So
wow.
Yeah, I started out, I was hired to be a parts delivery driver at this Porsche, Audi, Volkswagen store. And in between parts deliveries, I would do stereo installs, under dash air conditioner installs, whatever they needed done, just to try to gain more knowledge and experience.
Yeah, but back in the day when AC was an option that you could put a dealer added option, right?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It was that was different times. And so starting in fixed ops, starting in the shop, and now into C-suite positions. What are some of your current responsibilities that you deal with, and how did you navigate that rise up through those ranks?
Yeah, so currently in my role as commercial executive director here at Czinger Vehicles, I'm responsible for global sales, marketing, after sales, and dealer development. So really all of the commercial functions for the business, for the brand. I had spent most of my career in fixed ops roles, working from about, I don't even want to say, more than 20 years in dealership retail, working up through fixed ops director and so forth for multiple rooftops, and then joining Mazda as a district service manager initially. So transitioned to the OEM side in 2008. Worked through several roles at Mazda. One included overseeing both sales and service because they had a unique zone structure where the zone manager was responsible for both sales and service. And then back to when I joined McLaren, that was largely a after sales role, but had a lot of involvement with sales marketing. Was responsible for the port and quality control as well. So a lot of good experience there. When I initially joined Czinger Vehicles, it was for the after sales role, but within just a few months, Luca Czinger asked me if I would like to take on a larger role and become responsible for all of the commercial operations. And as I am unfortunately always want to do, I said, yes, absolutely, give me more. I can take it.
Yeah, there's always more bandwidth, right?
You can sleep when you're dead. I think Warren Zevon said that, right?
That's right. Absolutely. So what's one thing that you would advise someone that wants to reach your level that they could start doing today?
I think, always be learning, always accepting of new challenges. That doesn't mean saying yes to everything. You have to know when to say no. If something doesn't align with your vision for where you want to take your career and the next opportunity that you're focused on, it's absolutely okay to say no. That's not something that I can take right now. But be willing to say yes when you can see that an opportunity may give you some additional knowledge, skills, or insight. So I just like to always look for what's a big challenge that will also test me and stretch me and allow me to learn something new. So, for example, when I was in retail, running the service and parts operations for a 5-store dealer group, I remember the dealer principal came to me and said, "Hey, we have an offsite sale at the fairgrounds this weekend, and wanted to see if you'd be interested in coming out and help us sell some cars and recreational vehicles." I said, "Absolutely, I would love that. Just need a little bit of coaching." And so
Mhm.
he put me under the wing of one of his general sales managers, a guy named Alan. I can't remember his last name, unfortunately, but he just told me, "Hey, here's how you approach these opportunities, and just keep it conversational, and then come to us when you have someone that you think is interested in making an offer." And so I got exposed to the sales side of the business. I guess it was about 25, 30 years ago. But always just wanted to find opportunities to learn more and more about both retail, automotive, and then later on the OEM side. So I think if I could boil it down, I would say focus on your industry, but diversify within your industry so that you
Mhm.
become, really valuable and can transition from whether it's parts operations, service operations, warranty, technical, new car sales, used car acquisition, just try to gain as much knowledge as you can within the industry that you want to focus on.
Yeah, it's great advice, and you said something earlier on there, that you've got to do stuff to stretch yourself, right? That you're not going to reach the heights that you want if you're constantly staying in the role that whether what no matter how well you know that role. That
Yeah.
to be able to move, you've got to stretch yourself. You've got to do that scary stuff, if you will.
Yeah, no, I think it's important, and there's definitely a need, and there's a proper place for folks who like to continue to do the same thing and get really, really good at that one thing.
Hmm.
And the world needs those people that are just like the absolute best doing X, Y, and Z, and they want to continue to do that. But then there are also knuckleheads like myself who always want to say, "What's harder than that? What can I do next that is a bigger challenge?" And um, we have a history, I think, in my family in particular, of doing ridiculously difficult things
Hmm.
just to say that we did them. So,
That's I can certainly appreciate that. I have had fire under my feet for far too long to
yeah,
to stand still, right? But you're absolutely right. There are people who are completely where they want to be and know that, and I think it's great that they have that self-awareness to know that this is where I want to be, and this is where I make a difference, and that they stay in that role for 20 years.
yeah, absolutely. It's critical. I had a district service manager that worked for me when I was running the Southeast region at Mazda, and he had been in that role in that district for 25 years. And
Wow.
in individual conversations with everybody when I joined that region, and just asked him, what do you want to do next? And he said, "Next, I want to do this. I want to do this for the rest of my life." And I said, "Well, that's great." Because he was really good at it and he was really passionate about it. So there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that'll take us into segment two, which is the hypercar difference. This segment is brought to you by Automotive Warranty Network Incorporated, family owned and operated claims management service based out of Denver, Colorado. They currently process more than 100 million in warranty per month. First question is, typically it's a supercar difference, right?
Yeah.
Or supercar. So what's the difference between a car, a supercar, and a hypercar?
Yeah. So that's a really good question. So regular, obviously mass market cars, pretty simple. We all buy them. We all drive them every day. They're averaging around $50,000, right? Supercar is that ultra performance kind of, if you think about Ferrari, Lamborghini, McLaren, that 2 to 3 to $400,000 really fancy exotic car is Hypercar. And then Hypercar is really the 1,000 horsepower plus, $1 million plus, ultra low volume segment where Czinger Vehicles operates, along with Bugatti and Pagani, Koenigsegg, and the likes.
Okay. And so what are some of the similarities between a brand like, say, Mazda, McLaren, and Czinger?
So we all have very similar challenges in that we operate in a very challenging environment legally within the United States, particularly. I mean, globally, there's challenges that we all share, but I would say the nature of the car business in the US, you have to be really familiar with 50 different sets of state laws. You have to be familiar with different dealer operating standards and dealer franchise agreements. And so everyone, at least everyone who operates through a dealer network, which I believe is the only way to be successful. I know that there are a handful that have tried, direct to consumer sales, and maybe one or two are still reasonably successful.
Yeah.
Although I think the jury's still out on the direct to consumer market. I think we need dealers. So we operate through a network of dealers that are independent operators, and we have them as partners, just like we did at Mazda, just like we did at McLaren. So I have 19 dealers globally who I see as my business partner and the face of our brand. It's very similar to how we worked with dealers at Mazda and then at McLaren as well. So
Interesting. So it's very similar, other than the scale. The scale is different, right?
yeah. So obviously the volumes get lower and lower as the horsepower and the price tag get higher and higher. So
Yep.
we are only building 80 units of the Czinger 21C. And once those 80 are sold, we will move on to a next hypercar. But yeah, that's ultra low volume. I remember when I worked at Mazda, I was speaking with Masahiro Moro. He's the CEO of Mazda, and he told me, Randy, Mazda is a very small player, very little tiny car brand. We challenge ourselves to do things differently. And I thought, yeah, I guess we are a small player. But then when I joined McLaren, I thought, wow, no, this is small. They sell 2,000 cars in the United States this year. But then I still didn't realize what small volume was until now over here with Czinger Vehicles, where we're only ever going to sell 80 of this car. And that's going to take us through the next year and a half. So.
Yeah, it's a perspective shift, right? Of what small actually is.
For sure.
So let's talk about Czinger a bit. So I've seen in posts and things that they're using 3D printing in pretty much every aspect of the vehicle build. How is that different from a traditional car company?
Yeah, it's 100% different and completely unique. And one of the reasons that I was interested to join Czinger was because every other automaker is basically doing the same thing that Henry Ford was doing, 120 years ago, with minor tweaks here and there, but they're all working on the same kind of a platform for, internal combustion engines and, rear drive or sometimes all-wheel drive, but they're all building parts with similar technologies, similar manufacturing processes that have been used forever and ever. Czinger Vehicles completely different in that the company started out Divergent 3D as a 3D printing business first, decided then to build a hypercar as a proof of concept to show what could be done with 3D printing. So many components of the car, are printed right here in our factory in 2-story tall 3D printers that use 12 lasers to print in aluminum powder or Inconel powder and make metal parts, similar to what you see at your home 3D printer that prints little tiny plastic pieces.
Yeah.
And then we have a robotic assembly cell that takes all those 3D printed parts and connects them together into larger structures. And it's like something out of Westworld. I mean, it's just absolutely mind-boggling to see a completely different way of manufacturing parts and vehicles. And so with Divergent 3D, we're building our own hypercar, the Czinger 21C, but we're also printing parts for many other familiar supercar and hypercar manufacturers
Hmm.
because they don't have this technology. So
Yeah.
it's public knowledge that we are printing suspension components for the new McLaren W1. Also public knowledge that we are printing parts for the Bugatti Tourbillon. There are several other supercar and hypercar brands that are buying parts from us that we are not yet at liberty to disclose, but we are the best in the world at 3D printing of metal for vehicles. And
Yeah.
so there's a lot of demand for that. But yeah, we 3D print all of our suspension, all of our frame parts, many of our interior parts, our own gearbox is 3D printed, here
Wow.
in our factory in Torrance, California. So it's a completely different way of thinking about the manufacturing industry, really.
Yeah, because your point is well taken. That like Henry Ford invented the assembly line, right? and
Yes.
you can now go to any OEM plant and see an assembly line still taking place, right? They're still producing cars in largely it may not be one straight line, but just in large lines.
Yeah, it's really just little tweaks around the edges to what Henry Ford was doing 120 years ago.
Yeah,
But if you come here, and Dave, you're welcome. If you ever get out here to Los Angeles, I would love to give you a tour of the factory. Come and
absolutely.
see something you've never seen before. So I will show you the actual aluminum powder. We'll put it into a 3D printer. We'll print parts. We'll then take those parts to a circle of robotic assembly arms that will put the parts together into larger structures. And then we'll wheel them across the parking lot to our vehicle assembly factory. And you can watch us put together a $2.5 million hypercar.
Wow. It's amazing, and it still plays with my mind to hear you say that we're printing parts, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, it's different for sure, but it's the future, absolutely.
yeah, it's and so how does the fact that you're printing like that affect the rate of change that you can how quickly you can make a change to something when needed?
Yeah, it's we can iterate faster than obviously traditional manufacturing in that on in that same 3D printer, we could print a control arm for a supercar or hypercar, and the very next print job could be a sub-assembly for an autonomous vehicle like a drone that is used in
Hmm.
the military, or a submarine, or a space vehicle. We're printing parts there as well. So you can print any different part, any different print job, and then our robotic assembly cell can take a collection of those parts, and we might build a rear subframe for the Czinger 21C out of 13 different parts. And the very next job, without changing any of the physical structure of the assembly plant, the next job might be to put together an autonomous drone or an undersea vehicle. Or so everything can be done very quickly with limited change in the physical structures that put those assemblies together.
Hmm.
And a really good example, we had a certain division within the U.S. military come to us and say, "Hey, we've got this airplane that's been broken down for 5 years because we can't seem to make this hinge work, and nobody can design a hinge for us." And so they told us what this hinge needed to do, and kind of the size and shape that they had used in the past. And we gave all of those inputs to this AI program that we've developed in-house. The AI program ran 10,000 iterations overnight. In the morning, it gave us a set of instructions and said, go print this part. We printed that hinge, flew it to Florida, and installed it on an airplane, and it was operational 48 hours later after having been down for 5 years.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. The technology that not only goes into the AI that you needed to create to be able to do those calculations, but
Yeah.
to then also then turn that into being able to actually print a real world part that can fix something.
Yeah, it really is incredible, and it's inspirational to work in here with this small team.
Mm.
Kevin Czinger, the founders, father and son, both super geniuses that write this, developed this AI program, invented this kind of 3D printing and the robotic
Hmm.
assembly cell. And there are, I think, 600 patents within the Czinger 21C. that we have developed here in-house, and more than half of those patents belong to Kevin and Lucas Czinger, the founders. But we also have a team of super brilliant engineers here that we've recruited from Formula One race teams, from IndyCar teams,
Mm-hmm.
from other automakers. So
Amazing. And so we'll move into segment 3, which is, I feel like we've already been talking about this, but the future of automotive. So the last time we spoke, you talked about using the EV segment to separate ourselves as dealers from independents, and making ourselves like the doctors, and having that separate EV facility that's completely clean and just changes the look of everything. Has your view on that changed, given the seeming lack of adoption of EVs?
yeah,
Or should we be doubling down on that with those same types of places, because of the hybrid models that everybody seems to be moving to?
yeah. I think my view, like many in the industry, has evolved. I wouldn't say change, because I still believe there's a critical part for EVs to play going forward, and I don't think that we have seen necessarily a change in the direction of the consumer to want EVs. What I think we've seen is a leveling off of the incredibly fast growth. So EVs, we're on this 10, 20, 30% growth trajectory year over year over year. And then you get to a point where, okay, most of those early adopters now have one. And so the growth rate has reduced, but there's still growth in the EV segment. Now, with that said, I think there's been some concern and challenges about infrastructure for charging as well. And folks rightly have range anxiety, especially if they want to go, outside of their local, their urban area, and maybe take a road trip or something. So I think hybrid car interest has again kind of reignited. And so I think there's a place for that. But at the dealership level, and again, I'm an advocate of the dealership service and sales model 100%. I think dealers can benefit from investing in tooling, training, genuine parts, and certainly be leaders. And EV can help with that. Service retention, EVs should absolutely, in my opinion, be serviced primarily or exclusively at the dealership, where they have the right tools, they have the right knowledge, they have, the correct replacement parts. I think the same can be true with hybrid vehicles. I think the same can be true with traditional internal combustion cars as well, provided that the dealer differentiates themselves through the facilities, the people, the training, and the level of service. And I do also think that dealerships need to make sure that it's easy to do business with the dealership, because traditionally it's not easy. It's a pain in the butt. And I've seen some of your posts recently talking about, the service drive processes that make it even more frustrating. And that's always driven me crazy. It just needs to be easy. I've always told, the dealerships that I ran from a parts and service perspective, the dealers that I now support from sales, after sales, just make it easy. Just, take away some of the friction points, and you can absolutely own the market. So
yeah, it is a low bar that you really have to get over, to get that customer retention, and the word easy is written on that bar. Right?
Yeah, I think it might have been one of your examples, but I remember trying to make an online service appointment with a dealership, and it turns into just an email form that you send and hope somebody reads and responds to.
Yeah,
That's not easy.
no, definitely not.
Much easier and automated. And so there's a place for AI to help us with that. But AI is a tool that humans need to program and humans need to use to make their lives easier and their customers' lives easier.
Yeah, I mean, you could plug AI into the current scheduling model, and it's not going to make it any easier. It's just going to complicate it further for people. It takes just like Czinger is doing, just a totally different view of from what exists to what could exist.
Yeah, it needs to be a quantum leap, a complete mindset shift as to, if I were to just start over with a clean sheet of paper, how could I make this the easiest, most seamless process imaginable? and then develop the tools and support infrastructure to have that happen.
Right, right. And so you talked about 3D printing and AI. Do you think that's something that's going to have to be adopted by the legacy OEMs that are out there?
I'm not sure that it would have to be, but it certainly makes a lot of sense, and I think ultimately will be. The long-term vision for Divergent 3D and Czinger Vehicles is to take this process that we have at our factory in Torrance, California, and replicate it all around the world, closer to the assembly um, facilities of other OEMs and even other industries,
Hmm.
so that you can have on-demand AI generative design to make the most optimized structure possible. And then you can send that to a printer that's across the parking lot or in your backyard, and then you can retrieve those parts from that printer. So it just makes a lot of sense to move all of that manufacturing process from, design to engineering to printing or manufacturing, if you will, to assembly, closer to where the end product is put together. So I think
Yep.
you will see this certainly adopted by more and more automotive OEMs, as well as other industries. So yeah, I do think it's the future. As far as whether OEMs have to adopt this technology,
Mm.
they don't have to. They can continue to do things the old way and get the old results. But I think there's a better way, and it's the future.
Yeah, I guess that was the underlier of my question was they may not have to, but it probably would behoove them to look at some new ways of doing things.
Yeah, I think so.
So you are basically working with the future right now at Czinger Vehicles. What's coming next? You're already there in the future. Tell us back here in the past what's coming.
So I think what's coming is faster ability to 3D print in different materials. So imagine, like, did you ever watch the old original Star Trek program where they had the replicator where you could punch in on a keyboard,
Hmm.
the product that I want, and then you hit a button and you open the door and the product comes out. So
Yeah.
this is the way Kevin Zinger explained it to me. It's like the replicator. So you tell this machine, here's what I need, here's what it needs to do, and you put in a handful of raw materials, and you push a button, and out comes the thing that you need to create. So
Hmm.
I think that's coming to more and more industries, and I think it's going to help us with having to produce um, products in one location and then ship them all around the world, to where we can actually produce whatever product we need in our location, closer to where the end user is, closer to the consumer. So
Yeah.
then we free up, over the road travel. We reduce, ocean freight and air freight, and the pollution that's associated with that. Now, there's always trade-offs, and I know that a lot of EV folks on both sides will say, it's better, but it's also worse because you have upfront, emissions and carbon that's generated and so forth. But I think at the end of the day, if we could produce more products closer to where they're going to be consumed,
Yeah.
it's good for the world, and it's certainly, I think, in our future.
I think it would be really cool to be able to order something on Amazon or wherever and have it printed on my printer sitting sitting at my house or in my garage, right? Rather than a truck driving up and delivering it.
Sure. And that part may have started, overseas, and been produced and then put on a truck to a port, and then put on a ship that crossed the
Hmm.
ocean to the port of Los Angeles, and then put on a train that came across to Massachusetts where you live, and then put on another
Right.
truck. And so we can eliminate a lot of that through some of these
Hmm.
technologies that are being pioneered here at Divergent 3D and Zinger Vehicles.
Yeah, it is some really cool stuff, and it's exciting to see the future coming around. And you talked about Star Trek and the replicator. It seems like, whether life imitates art, it seems like these shows have actually created the future, if you will.
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of that creativity that was kind of imagination, back when you and I were younger folks,
Yep.
is now
Yeah.
inspired people to say, why couldn't we do that? And so a lot of folks, including the team here, are going back and saying, yeah, why can't we do that? If you think of it, there's probably a way that you can actualize it. So,
which is a terrific attitude to see in automotive, where it's usually we've always done it that way, attitude, right? So good to see that change. Randy, it's been great talking with you again. Where should people go to find out more about you and more about Czinger Vehicles?
Well, Czinger.com is the best. Czinger. So the C is pronounced silent, but it's Czinger.com. Go check out the amazing hypercars that we're building and breaking records with. This past summer, we set the record for a production car up the hill at Goodwood Festival of Speed. We came back 2 weeks later and broke the track record for a street legal vehicle at Circuit of the Americas in Austin. And then about a month later, we went back and got the track record at Laguna Seca. So the car is everything that we hoped it would be, and now in full production after 4 years of development, which is a pretty quick turnaround time for a brand new company. So 4 years from concept to handing over customer cars and approaching sold out of those 80 cars that we will build over the next 18 months.
Excellent. And my offer still stands to snow test them up here in New England. Just send me one of them, and I will make sure it gets its I put it through its paces in the snow.
Well, that sounds good. We will have our marketing car on a full world tour starting in middle of December. So when
excellent.
I don't know that I'll come to Massachusetts when it's snowing, but if we do, I will look you up.
Absolutely. No matter when you come to Massachusetts with that, I will be there. So
sounds good.
Again, thank you for your time today. We covered a lot of ground in today's show. Make sure you head over to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, as well as Spotify or whatever your favorite podcast platform is, so you don't miss the best of what the Automotive are saying. Randy, again, thank you for your time and your insights. I'm Dave Foy, and you've been watching the Fixed Ops Mastermind powered by OEM Interactive.